And we are live now on our second Patron Hangout. We have a little bit more of a crowd, more patrons this month, which is exciting news. So we're going to get started very shortly. We do have one more. We have Michael, we have Matthew, and we have Fabricio jumping in and out. Hopefully he can get his mic and camera situation under control shortly. In the meantime, we're going to open up the floor to you guys so that we can over answer your questions as we usually do. And we're going to start this month with Mike. So, Mike, thanks for joining us again, and thanks for supporting, as always.
All right, thanks, appreciate it. And I guess my first question would have to be something about, well, you guys know that I am the worst HeroClix player in the world, so needless to say, I did not earn a Quinjet, nor would I expect to get one off of the secondary market because they're already very expensive. And so I expect to go up against one or two eventually in the near future. So for those who aren't experienced with using one, or what should I look for? What should I kind of be prepared for, and how can I counter something when I know my teams aren't going to include a Quinjet?
All right. So, do you have an approach yet, Amber? Because I got a long-winded one, so I'll let you start with if you have any ideas on how to deal with this thing.
I want to see pulse wave.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that's actually very good about the fact that it is a 2x4 vehicle base is that it's very easy to put yourself in a position where you're only going to hit it because it's a very big target. So being able to lock down a single target pulse wave on a figure that size is a lot easier than when you're trying to do just a one square figure. Other than that, I mean, he can reduce penetrating damage. He doesn't have a lot of actual damage reducers when it comes down to it. When he does, it's like toughness. He does have some top dial invincible, depending on which of the two dials that is ending up fielding. And the thing is, it's so outwittable. Outwitting its flight, outwitting its damage reducers. Like, it's just like, okay, well, he still won't be able to reduce. Like, he can reduce penetrating damage, but only if he has the reducers there to reduce it. So outwitting that toughness, takes 6 damage to the face. Like, doing a lot of damage to it right away. And I stress right away because you do not want this thing to start ramping up. It's going to click that dial when it takes damage, but not for every click of damage, just the fact that it took damage. So it's not going to be bringing out the big guys until a little bit later, so the more damage that you can focus on it, the earlier on, the better off you're going to be.
Now, my long-winded approach, it comes down to a problem of composition. In the base 300-point game, we've already seen it win one tournament, and that was Easton Brock / Aaron Cantu's build, which included a Quinjet along with a Despotellus armed with a Dara and a Prime Nighthawk. There's also a Jarvis on the team and an Ultron. So obviously the goal of this team was to get characters out, get the dial moving, get some to stick around for the point. And then what you run into the problem with single target pulse waving it is that the Despodara defense value still exists in a 20 defense, and then the problem of the Nighthawk Prime still exists because he's not in the targeted pulse wave range, so you can't increase your stats, and you're dealing with a 20 defense. So outright, Amber's approach is correct with the Quinjet, but then when it comes to composition, if this becomes the Quinjet standard, that is going to make it significantly more difficult to deal with. Now, that's not to say it's impossible. Of course, Despotellus is the guy to take out when it comes down to that particular build, and believe it or not, a guy who poisons as well as him isn't very strong against poison. But it's still going to take you a couple turns, and 3 turns worth of poison isn't going to happen overnight, and you're still going to have the problem of the Ultron popping out the ID cards. So then it comes down to what can you do to deal with the characters that are coming out from the ID card and not having them not be a problem. I hate saying it, but two of the best characters with dealing with any threat are Banshee and Nick Fury. Nick Fury's ability to ignore the map and anything on it makes it very easy for him to start telling you can't use powers and get rid of problem things. And, of course, his first problem would be, what's his name? Nighthawk Prime. So you might have to deal with the 20 defense, but he does have probability control, and he does leave a lot of room to have more probability control beyond that. Outside of that, you're playing a dice game. So yes, the Quinjet is very strong, and it comes down to outmaneuvering and outplaying. One of the things about the composition of the card stack that Easton brought was that it lacked a whole lot of long range, which is why I go to characters like Nick Fury and Banshee. Unfortunately, he also brought a Nick Fury with him who's likely to either stick on the board or be on there long enough to do enough damage to ruin your day. The other approach you could take is the easy way out, which is copycat. Take Nighthawk Prime. Now he's yours. It's the easiest way to deal with this particular situation, as far as not having to think beyond the fact. If Nighthawk Prime is mine, I don't have him to deal with. So long as they don't have a way to give copycat regeneration.
Right. Also, on the topic of copycat, steal the Quinjet.
Yeah, steal the Quinjet.
Then the resource isn't active,
yeah,
and you're not have to worry about all these ID card guys coming in for free.
Yeah. Although Ultron can still bring out a good portion of the cards,
but then they're around for one turn. You don't have to worry about them sticking around.
So I'm kind of hoping that gives you an idea of how to deal with it. As far as using it, I don't know. You said you don't plan on getting it, but as far as using it, if you happen to get your hands on one, think Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone and build a curve to your cards. Make sure you can start at the low end and kind of draw up the points on them, or be able to start low so that you can bring out high. Because what you want to do is use the low end cards with high effect. So cards like Triathlon, cards like the She-Hulk are your ideal ones to bring out, and then have them move the dial up to bring out your easy characters. And watch for that behavior, because that's what they're going to do. So if you can find a quick way to capitalize on those characters and put the point game in your favor and put them on tilt, that's an amazing step towards winning. If you can find ways, even with Nighthawk Prime, I don't know if there's many, but if you can find a way to kill the characters that come on the board, you're getting a lot of points off of them, and it's now their responsibility to catch up.
Okay.
So I'm hoping we gave you the answers you were looking for.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Hello.
What's that?
Well, I'm back.
Oh, Fabrizio. Okay. We're gonna get to your question right after we get to Matt's question.
Oh yeah.
And we'll go from there. All right, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. So Matt, you get the next question.
Okay. So I'm going to switch to my second question, if that's all right. And I just want to ask you guys about, when you're building a team and you're thinking about support powers, what do you want to pack on the team, and what's sort of your thought process? What's the priority? Like, obviously probability control, outwit, perplex, they're all great. Mastermind, support, leadership, I don't know. I see them second tier, but how do you prioritize that, and what do you think about what you need, what you can't live without?
Okay. Go. You want to take that one first?
Sure. If you watch our games religiously, you will find probably at least once per game, I'll be like, shit, should have put outwit on this team.
Yeah.
I'm really, really bad for actually building my teams with support in mind. One of the best ones that I did actually was at one of our table games, where the new Fitz that makes hoverbots is awesome, because you can give the hoverbots a power action to use Fitz's damage abilities as if Fitz occupied that square. And his dial actually alternates between enhancement and empower, and that power all with the other bots also works with Simmons, and her powers alternate between support and outwit, I believe. Every other click, they're both 4 clicks. They both alternate. They have 2 clicks each of those powers. So I was sending the hoverbots out with my Cat Falcon, and was pushing Fitz and Simmons to get the right support powers through the hoverbots. So that's the only time that I've ever really gone out of my way to build for those support powers. But like you said, the Outwit, Perplex, and Prob are probably the highest ones that you want to have on your team, but I'm personally a fan of Enhancement and Empower. I like putting those on more than something like support, as I like dealing a lot of damage. There is a story in here that we will get to one day about a battle royale we did the first year at Nationals, and my entire team had Sidestep and Empower, and it was awesome.
Violent.
Yeah.
Violent.
And it won me a world's finest.
It did win you a world's finest.
Nice.
And my approach as far as support powers is reading my team. I want to look in the direction that my team is going and see the need. I keep going back to Police Brutality 2.0 because I found that was a team I had that had every combination of support power that I needed with some backup plans to get other ones. A prime example of that is I had Banshee on the team, which means Outwit wasn't a priority. He comes both with Psychic Blast and the ability to stop a lot of the obnoxious defense powers, which is where Outwit really gets targeted a lot.
Yeah.
But failing that Banshee, something bad were to happen to Banshee, I had the Power Plant on my team, which allows me to burn a ring to gain Outwit, which is another option. As well, I had the Central City Police Captain, who could, as long as he was next to a police character, take a power action, gain Outwit. So I had backup plans upon backup plans. So then it was, do I need Perplex on the team? Well, I had 2 characters with the PD team ability, and I had, again, the ability to burn the rings. So, as a matter of fact, Perplex would have been a redundancy on my team. There would have been a lot of situations where it's like, well, I'm already pushing the rule of 3. Do I really need it in this case? So I didn't have to look at it and go, I definitely need to find a way to put Perplex on my team, where I had enough of the things that Perplex did. And then as far as probability control, I had something better than Prob, and that was Rocket Raccoon.
Mm-hmm.
But I also had a Central City Police team theme, which gave me the ability to theme Prob. Also on top of the Perplex, I had Enhancement from Cerise, and if somebody was to point out the weakness of my team being at range, well, then I was also able to give Cerise Empower, so range combat wasn't the only option I have. I wasn't a one-trick pony with that team.
Right.
So part of it is start with your team initially and see what you need, and you got to kind of factor around that. Now, when you get powers like Leadership and Mastermind, Leadership is, in all situations, not something you can count on, but a nice cherry on top. It finds its way into a lot of my teams because I often play the keyword that really pulls in Leadership. Soldier and Police are keywords that I find myself drifting to a lot, mostly because they're very tactical teams, very high stats, very, very low cost, very good at min and maxing as far as the characters are concerned, and they end up coming with Leadership. So if I happen to pull it off, that's an even better bonus, mostly because these teams are very small. Mastermind, you end up having to build around in this case, and because of the way it works, Mastermind needs characters at lower points. Now, in some cases, you do have the option of using characters where the points don't matter, but ultimately, if you're relying on Mastermind, you're relying on the team being able to use the Mastermind on. But as well, you've got to find a way around Precision Strike nowadays. And I say the same thing about Super Senses, but I mean, Super Senses makes its way through the game regardless, because more often than not, the characters with Super Senses are often better than the characters with Mastermind. I find the characters with Mastermind are often more stationary, but that's a design thing that just kind of happens out of the game. So yeah, when you're talking about powers like Mastermind or Leadership, Leadership is a cherry on top. where Mastermind ends up being a build focus.
Yeah, I get that.
All right. So next up, Fabricio. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yes, it's fine. Don't bother with it. It's your name.
Okay. I'm just going to turn up the volume here because I can't quite hear you. So what's your question?
My question is, with teams now being able to bring precision strike and similar powers over and over again, what should people rely more on? Because super senses and impervious are just very present. People use them or abuse them a lot with entities and things like that. But sometimes you can just rely on exploit weakness or things like that. So what defensive power you should use or focus more in the actual meta?
You want to take this one first? All right.
Trying to think of the best way to word this. So I think one of the, and we've touched on a few times, and I think Jason's actually going to do an episode with Metafix on it soon, is one of the things to think about with making a team is to not rely on powers, especially when nowadays it just seems that everything has an answer. Like you were mentioning with the fact that there's so much precision strike now that it seems like super senses and impervious just aren't as valuable as they used to be. And building around that now, you don't necessarily have to look at a figure and be like, oh, well, he only has super sense, that there's too much precision strike, I shouldn't use that character anymore. Being able to strategically build or add to your characters and in a sense where you're not going to be necessarily relying on that. We do have resources for that. We have characters that give other adjacent characters bonuses for just being near each other, relics, special objects, but just because a character only does that one thing doesn't necessarily mean that they shouldn't be included onto your team, and sometimes it may be worth it just to take the hit, depending on the character. Also, not to underestimate just having prob on your team as well. Being able to make that precision strike hit suddenly a miss can definitely help. I'm rambling now. I'm gonna give this off to Jason because I had an idea and it went nowhere. I'm sorry.
I think one of the best sayings I've ever heard to answer your question is "fear is the mind killer." And the reason I want to use that phrase is simply this: if you become too afraid of a single power existing, I'm already going into the episode 2 that I actually have of Metafix, which everybody, thank you guys for helping me vote on that. If you get too afraid of a certain power existing, you get in the way of your ability to build. So what you have to do, and this is why I say practice makes your team better, is you have to look at your team and get some practice games against characters that, say, have Precision Strike or have powers that you're afraid of, and see how your team manages against them. And then before throwing your team away, think about the outcome of the game, and then look at it again and say, was I able to do that in a different way to get a better outcome? Because this team, I love this team so much. When I put Banshee on my teams all the time, I think, well, if somebody has Precision Strike, it's going to hurt a lot. But then again, if somebody has 6 damage, Banshee's going to get hurt a lot because I only get a 1 in 3 chance of getting my Super Sense rolls. Stop chewing food on the camera.
No, she's off. She's off.
I'm just giving her a hard time. But it's a matter of knowing how your team can take a hit and then moving past that. A lot of people get really... I see a very common problem that some players do run into is they get hit and then they shut down. And that's bad habit right off the bat. It's hard to stay up on yourself when you're getting hit and getting down on yourself, especially when you build teams like mine, because my teams get hit a lot. And mostly because many years ago I stopped relying on high defenses because of this one's dice rolls. Oh, you need a 9? Oh, 9. If she needs a 9, she can hit every time. She needs a 7, forget about it. But yeah, like you got to look at the situation that your team brings and how you can maneuver around other situations.
Jason's stealing the screen.
What's that? That's fine. You take up a third of like anything anyway. But yeah, as far as if you're really afraid of Precision Strike, make sure you have a way to get invincible. We have the new Wonder Man now. So invincible was going to work regardless, and if they're only dealing 1 damage, you're okay. But if they're dealing any more than 1 damage, invincible's not going to help you against Precision Strike, and Precision Strike is just going to happen. If you're really worried about it, bring out Wit. Bring Nick Fury. Well, I'm going to say his name a lot nowadays, aren't I? He does have a lot of answer. 9 range. Doesn't really pay attention to the map.
Give it a couple of weeks, and my answer to everything will be Superman Blue.
That's true. Then you get Superman Blue, but I'm a little in love with that character. I think all of the Metal Lab's in love with that character, and I think we might need 7 or 8 of them. So I hope we answered your question on that one to the best of the degree. It's a hard question to just straight out answer. It all comes down to kind of like how I had to answer Matt's question. It comes to your composition and what direction you're building in, and then working within that. If you see a major glaring flaw, play like it is your flaw, and make sure you keep your opponent away from being able to exploit it.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem.
I just wanted one opinion. I
We're having a hard time hearing you, sorry.
I don't know if you can adjust your mic volume up. I set your volume higher on our end. If maybe you can adjust it through your computer. If you want to stick around and you have some other questions, we're cycling through all of our patrons that are on right now, and everybody's going to get a chance to ask all the questions that they have this week, because we're not yet at the point where we have to sort through people.
Sorry, we had email?
We have an email, but they get last.
Okay.
Because if anybody has to leave before we end the show, then
right.
we can still do it. All right, but we rotate back around to Michael.
Alrighty, so this next question hopefully will give you guys a chance to shine here, because it's also multifaceted. Because when I was setting this up because I was thinking back to the last Patreon team build that I had given for you guys and that robot, and I showed you how some of these new sets can make other pieces, give it like a more mileage or an extra life to it, And so I was going back into my other sets and things like that, and finding shield and Hydra pieces, and maybe some other old robot pieces that could get some extra mileage into like your Golden Age theme team. So for the first part of the question, I just want to work these out like sort of like a flashcard type of drill, and show it to you and say, hey, what do you guys think? Like these are some older pieces. Should I try and work them into the new Hydra shield set, or what? First thing I thought of was the old Maria Hill. I think she's from the Avengers movie. She's got the shield keyword. Do you guys think that's a good idea to bring her? She's only 51 points.
I remember the figure, but when it comes to Maria Hill herself, she really got outshined by the Winter Soldier version. I don't know if you had a chance to. That one is 60 points, able to use Outwit, but can also use as a power action to use Outwit, drawing line of fire from an opposing character to an opposing character. So if you have 2 characters next to each other within 6 squares, I can use the older Maria Hill, or the new Maria Hill, in not newest, but the Winter Soldier one, to Outwit from, say, your character to another character. And that can be like across the board. There's no line of fire requirement or anything like that on it. I'm really starting to fall in love with that one, because it can also bring it. At 60 points, it's got sidestep, willpower, a little bit of range, shield team ability, a decent attack, and 2 damage, I believe, in a shield encrusted environment. I think she shines a lot more as a Maria Hill than that other one. But as well, that one, in the current shield environment, because there's a lot of characters that trigger on having a lot of shield characters out there, if she happens to be one of the ones that's helping trigger the ability with 2 shield agents next to a character, she becomes that much better as well. I'm over answering again.
It's okay. I was gonna say the same thing. I believe I was the one that introduced you to that Maria Hill because as soon as I pulled it, I think I pulled it in Steel, and I was like, "This is the most amazing thing I have ever played. I am going to outwit you with your own guys." Yeah. And it was just every turn, especially because she had the willpower, and it was just like, "All right, so your Cyclops is gonna outwit your Wolverine, and then I'm gonna shoot you in the face."
Yeah, I had not gotten a chance to play Agent 13, even though we have seen a Sharon Carter. I do like this one because she's got the shield keyword, but she's got the, of course, if she's a part of a shield themed team during your first turn, and each of that opposing character with that keyword can't be given more than one free action per turn. I think she's going to get a lot of more life to it. Did you know She-Hulk from the Incredible Hulk thing has a shield keyword?
Yep.
Yeah. Elektra.
Actually, I remember one of the first teams I played her on was an old shield team. I was like, she's got a shield, why not? I have barely any figures again, so let's see what happens.
All right. Elektra from the Deadpool set. I think she might have some extra life to her with this new shield thing like that. And there's another hidden gem that might get some extra play. Remember Manphibian from the Spider-Man thing?
Manphibian, right?
Yeah, Manphibian has a shield keyword.
He's also got the transporter ability, which is hypersonic light.
All the move and attack.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. So the last.
He was already good, actually. That's what I have to say about him.
Yeah, like that. So, you guys think those are okay, worth my time at trying to, for play testing and stuff like that?
Of all the characters that you mentioned, I don't think there was a single one that doesn't become even better if they weren't already good. A lot of people laughed at Manphibian because he was a fishman, but I made a lot of those people stop laughing very quickly with a single super strength transporter move in most cases. Elektra is amazing, even outside of a shield team with hand. And yes, I believe Agent 13 has actually been used on a lot of spy teams as well.
Can I say it? Can I say it?
You know who else is a spy?
No. Can I say the thing about Agent 13?
Go say it.
So Agent 13 was an exclusive for a certain store that recently went bankrupt in Canada, so we never got her. So I have seen her talked about. I've never seen her played because she doesn't exist up here.
But that said, she gained some more legs because outside of being S.H.I.E.L.D., she's also a spy. And gained a lot more friends in the S.H.I.E.L.D. set, especially. There's a lot of spy keywords in that set. So her trait gets some extra length to the S.H.I.E.L.D. Keyword. I think if you're playing a S.H.I.E.L.D. keyword, your eyes should go towards Steve Rogers in all cases, because the addition of the energy shield is amazing. Because you're not relying on anybody's defense value in particular, you're actually relying on a power that he can give out. Which is why I kind of like him better. And then if they're close, well, most cases, especially if you got a good composition on your shield team, you're adjacent to two shield guys, and you're losing a power and willpower. So I kind of lean towards Steve Rogers as your lead on shield, but when you get to the spy area, Nick Fury is kind of your go-to. But I guess they're both are those are Soldier and Shield as well. So I keep building them on teams together. Who am I kidding?
Jason's stuck in the now.
Yeah. I'm so stuck in the now.
So stuck in the now. There was a good year and a half. Every single team I built had that She-Hulk on it.
Yeah. And honestly, it was hard for us to turn around and say those characters never really got bad. We just stopped using them because we're limited on space and maintain a modern age collection.
More things, more and the more.
Yeah. All right. This second part to the question is to show that make Amber shine in the moment here. Here is, I also found a couple Hydra players that might work on the Hydra team, except I found that Sin has a Hydra thing, but it doesn't match the same Hydra that's on Crossbones. Crossbones from the Iron Man set is all capital letters. Now, did I miss something, or did they, rules lady, did they rule that this Hydra that's like in just lowercase Hydra on the Sin card still match up to the Hydra on Crossbones? Or should I go to the forums for rules forums?
No, on this one you're actually good. I can't remember which keyword it had to be originally ruled on. I think it was shield, because there is shield all capitals. There's also shield with periods in between, and they essentially said that as long as it does say, like, because it says Hydra and Hydra, whether one is capitalized over the other, they're still the same team. The only time that the keywords like that get mixed up is actually Justice League, because when you have Justice League, JLA, JLI, JSA, Justice League of America, Justice League International, there is actually 11 different variations of Justice League, and all of them are separate keywords. So other than the Justice League, because apparently they hate DC when it comes to keywords, the other ones like Shield and Hydra, they are considered to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah, because then they also do have the Hydra theme team ability as well. So I thought I was surprised that they weren't included within the Hydras. They're the Shield and Fury set there, but if they get some extra life out of these new sets, then that's great. Thank you for being patient with me while that complicated question came through.
I think if anything would confuse me about not being in Nick Fury would have been Sin, because Sin left with Fear itself, and now we don't have a modern age Sin to split out of Skull and
Crossbones duo.
Sin and Crossbones.
Crossbones.
That's what their names are. But then again, we never did get a Furball to split with Lockjaw and Furball. So
yeah.
Anyway, Matt, you're next.
All right. So my next question is more of just a discussion point, but I'll try and frame it a bit question-like. And I've been playing for about a year, so I'm new to things, and I've realized a little bit of a turning point with the game in terms of thinking more about counters. So when I'm creating my team, thinking, I need penetrating Psychic Blast because there's a lot of damage reducers and that kind of thing. So that's helped me a lot. And that's why I think the ID cards are great, because you can pack a lot of things that you'll need in the moment. Like, okay, I don't need this for my main force, but if I have, a few ID cards on the side, I can pack this little power here or there that will save you in desperate times. Like maybe you've got a range team and you pull in a close combat guy because you need him. And so just in terms of strategic thinking, how do you guys sort of frame that when you're building a team? Like, are there a few counter things that you're always thinking of, or are you more thinking like, what can my team do against the other team? I sort of noticed you guys saying, if he has that, I've got this, and if he does this, I've got that. So, you're thinking a few steps ahead, which is tricky.
Yeah.
So, discuss.
This is all me, eh?
Yeah.
Pre-answering Cody's question later on, to a bit of a degree. Yeah, when you're talking about outright countering, I start with building my team. That's the first step every kind of time. I don't even think about other teams when I'm building a team in most cases. Mostly because that helps you get synergy, making sure that your team works with the other figures that your team has. One of the things I do first most cases is I try to build theme, which for all my chasing of the entities, ask anybody who knows me, they'll tell you I just don't use them. I very rarely use the entities myself, mostly because I love the advantage that a theme king gets. And of course, step one is the map control. I do love map control, and as a result, I bring Ryu with me everywhere because I always build teams that don't care about elevated terrain. And that's always the first step in finding out that there's a power that's going to be a problem with against you. Is if you can't find the direct answer with the team that you have, is there a way, not specifically with the team, but say with a map choice or with a resource choice, that might be able to help you? You know, Amber, when you're on the screen, the light doesn't adjust. And we don't lose as many frames. But, yeah, so what I'll do is I'll say, can I counter their mobility? And if I can't, that's when I have to go back to the drawing board. Because you can always build a team and say, what's my answer to impervious? What's my answer to invincible? In a lot of cases, outwit can be. But then you think, okay, but what? A lot of characters who have invincible can't be countered nowadays, or there'll be really big characters that will have some ability to stop them from being countered or have powers that be ignored. So, am I able to outmaneuver these select characters that I can do? And if I can't outmaneuver them, I have to add the maneuverability in my team, and that's when I go back to step one, which is the drawing board, of course. Now, when I'm considering what my team does, countering everything is always a thing. A really good meta-based team, like when I'm talking super competitive. If I'm going to nationals, if I can't get past a certain number of things, then I don't bother with the team. A lot of the time, the first step is, can I beat a team base? Because, believe it or not, even though they nerfed them, they still exist, and they are still the comparison board of what can my team beat. If step one isn't I can't beat a team base, you got to go back to the initial step. And the team base, I say team bases because they have every single power that's a problem. Almost every team base has a high-end defense power, be it impervious, invincible, or invulnerable. They always have some form of dodge, be it in super senses or shape change. I don't get that, but that's neither here nor there. As well, they do have improved movement, ignore, elevated. A lot of them have some way of ignoring, hindering as well. And then they'll have some kind of power that ignores some kind of terrain. So thinking in that wide angle of spectrum is, can I beat a team base? If I can get past the team base, then I start considering the minutia. But always step one is, when you're building your team, can I beat a team base? Because believe it or not, zombies still win. Right? And then once you get past that, then you got to look into your attack value. Can I beat a high defense? Because 20 defense is actually a lot more common than it used to be because of Desperado. A 23 is even a defense value that can exist in a situation with hindering terrain and additional energy shield. I mean, I mentioned Steve Rogers, of course. Despotellus next to Steve Rogers and hindering terrain is a 23 defense problem. And you got to think to yourself, what do I do against high defenses? So your answers to high defenses are, of course, A, lower their defenses, because I go instantly to lower nowadays because of Nighthawk Prime. If Nighthawk Prime stops your opponent from increasing your stats, does not stop them from decreasing my stats.
Right.
So that's the situation where you want to start thinking about perplexing down. Start thinking about the PD and the Hydra team ability, because both of them don't actually add to your attack, they subtract your opponent's defense, which goes a long way when you start to think about extra attackers. If you have more than one attacker next to the same Hydra guy, that -1 defense can go longer. If you perplex the defense by -1 and miss the attack with the first guy, if you hadn't perplexed that first guy's attack up, the second guy gets the bonus of that -1 defense because there was that character was the one that lost the defense. So subtracting over adding actually has become something of an approach that I deal with high defenses now. Again, Police Brutality 2.0 had 2 characters with PD team abilities, so I wasn't worried about anybody bringing a Desperado combo. And it also had Rocket Raccoon to help me reroll anything. Yeah. And he comes with such a miasma of keywords with Animal, Soldier, and Police as generic ones that he has, that he can fit into a lot of teams. And 80 points, the ability to reroll attacks and reroll your super sense rolls, reroll your opponent's shape change rolls, if that's really been the problem, can really, really extend the life of him. And he's incidentally also the reason for Faust's continued ban.
Which actually may see Rocket end up on the watch.
Yeah, we might. We'll see. I think that would be a small thing that changes the detail. Anyway, that's another conversation. We're trying to avoid the tangents this time. We promised ourselves the tangents.
Fine.
But
I made no such promise.
did I answer the question? Give you the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, it's not a question that can be answered in one conversation, probably, but
Absolutely.
yeah, very helpful. I never considered team bases as being like a good first step in terms of thinking of counters. And yeah, I mean, I play more casually than competitively, but it's I probably overthink those kind of things when I'm building a team and start thinking, well, what if, and then you can never get past, a first strike at a team.
Always the what if shouldn't be if that thing exists, I'm screwed. It's always if that thing exists, what can I do to not be screwed? Which in fact, a story with Amber, we built this funny little indigo lantern-based hypersonic gang, you can't shoot me ever team. And one of her big struggles was dealing with Gluttony Dupe, the combination that was running rampant courtesy of Kenny Pena that year. And Amber, when I was piloting the Gluttony Dupe, Amber was getting crushed by it. And part of it was she was afraid. She was hesitant to do things and just wouldn't do a certain number of things. So then we switched it up, and I'd beaten her enough with it that she didn't play it incorrectly at all. But I showed her the strategy she ended up having to rely on if she was to come up against it. Because sometimes your strategy isn't the optimal. You got to know sometimes it's just take some points and run if you can do that. Because, people will yell at me. That's mean strategy. That's strategy.
Legitimate strategy.
It's a completely legitimate strategy because the game is won by points. If I kill only one guy and stay away from you the whole game, I haven't broken a rule. Mm-hmm. I haven't done anything wrong. I have won the game, and sometimes that is the only way you can win. And the problem is when you lose that way, it is incredibly frustrating to some newer players, some younger players, or even some long versed veterans, and they will instantly go, "Well, you ran away from me." Well, duh.
Yeah.
Won me a Quinjet.
Right. I always go back to a boxing analogy where if I'm in a boxing match and I hit a guy, I'm not going to drop my hands and let him hit me back. I'm going to keep my hands up and I might dodge his next punch, and then I'm winning the round. So, I mean, you can't fault somebody for running away if it's the optimal strategy in the situation. And in this situation, it was kill, dupe, and run.
No, it was actually kill, split lip, and run.
And kill, split lip, and run.
The reason why I lost against it was because the build that I went up against wasn't Kenny's gloop. It was a variation of it that didn't have split lip.
Oh.
So,
yeah. So that was another problem. So, again, don't stop at that figure's going to stop me. Just turn to them and say, I'm not going to let that figure stop me. I'm not going to let him touch me.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna find some way that my team has to just stop him. Incapacitate is always a good thing to have handy if you can have a resource that gives you incapacitate or some other thing that can give you some form of incapacitate. Nobody likes having that extra action token when they shouldn't have it.
No.
All right. Sorry. So Fabricio, you get the next question. Let's hope we get the mic issue figured out. Fabricio? Hello? I think we lost him.
Sorry, I had a bit of internet problem, so I couldn't hear. Here it is. Sorry. I want to question something. Well, I want to ask you your opinion about characters like Black Mask from Arkham Origins, who can use other allies' keywords to do awesome things. Like he can give a character who shares a keyword with him or a sync keyword a move action. So I play him with Predator and the Stars of Fire recruits to free Ration by Expert and things like that. What are your opinions on characters like that who can make those keywords count a lot more?
You can go first, Denver, because I already have my answer for this one, and you keep bringing it up even because you're so proud of that team that did well. Go ahead, Denver.
It's awesome. Let's start with that. I actually initially when these characters first started showing up, they seemed very, very limited because there wasn't any real way to give keywords out. But now we're actually getting into these, especially the entities primarily, where it's just like, oh, here, have some keywords. Oh, you know what else has that keyword? Everything else. So it actually makes team building with these characters in mind a lot better because it went from this very limited thing to this wide open pool of characters that you can choose from, and especially like you said with the Black Mask, where he allows you to do a free action, and it's just like that can be huge. That can be a game changer when it's on the right character, and the fact that you can give him a keyword. Because at the time I really wanted to build a team with that Black Mask actually, but I was like, he's got Assassin and like something else and But like you said, putting Predator on him, putting other Star Sapphires with him, that now I've got to play this team. Thank you. It's this huge ballpark that's been opened with the fact that you can now hand out keywords and you really, really utilize these characters that have keyword-based powers.
If I have to play against another Green Lantern team that's only a Green Lantern team because of Ion, I am going to scream though. Actually, I blame Tom on that one. Ever since he brought, what's her name, Jenny Sparks with Ion and Tomar 2 to Nationals.
I played against that team. That was a horrible, horrible team.
Horrible in as far as it's good or horrible?
It's a really, really good team, and it was really hard for me to love.
It's why I really like bouncing ideas off of Tom. Me and Tom come up with some wacky stuff. Sometimes I'll give Tom a wacky team, and then he'll find a way to make it even wackier. And anyway, I'm off on a tangent. So actually, I was thinking of a different team when he had mentioned this because for some reason I was instantly thinking of the Hand Ninjas.
Oh, I had a feeling that was the one you were talking about.
You loved that team so much, and I brought that to a week where everybody was cracking the Nationals teams, and I thumped everybody except for Ryan, who got 4th place in Nationals anyway. But I spent all month torturing him already, and he had a hard time with my team. So, what's that?
You got 3rd at Nationals.
Top 4. Did I not say 4th? Or?
You said 4th.
Okay. He got top 4. And I spent how many months punishing that poor boy?
Too many.
That said, the ability to abuse keywords is actually, it's the cornerstone of Police Brutality 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I started that team with the police captain.
Everything goes back to this team.
Everything goes back to this team because it did so much, and it was so much of my team building in one team. It started with that police captain that said, who's got the police keyword to make a named theme team with? Banshee's got police keyword. Rocket Raccoon's got police keyword. Cerise's got police keyword. Oh, I got a team already. Let's put a Green Lantern on it. Call up Patrick Iboko. What do you think of this team? Put a power plant on it. Ah! So, the ability to manipulate keywords is, yes, one of my favorite things lately because I'm no longer limited in things as well. And sometimes sometimes just using a keyword to add a team ability in a lot of cases can go a long way as well. Agent Ward and Agent H go a long way at making these hybrid Shield Hydra teams that are just obnoxiously amazing because every single character has every single keyword. So, or not every single keyword, but every single team ability. So keyword manipulation is something I've been toying with for a long time, and I have to say I'm loving everything that it does, and I look forward to my next Kree Human team with Ronan. Especially when you have all those Inhumans that can perplex only Inhumans.
All the Inhumans.
Yes.
I am an Inhuman monster. Mike, you're up.
Alrighty, so as you can tell that I am in all like pinkish and stuff like that. So my next question is hopefully gonna make you guys shine again, so you can plug your YouTube channel and all the shows on it. So about a couple months ago, I think it was July, I think, my group and region around Pittsburgh had done this really nice thing. It was like Clix for charity. And I've also heard of a store out in West Virginia that had done that once. And fortunately, I had to miss both of them. But so that's another thing off my HeroClix checklist, like and bucket list type of thing. I want to do something like that. So my question is to you, because this is October and it's Awareness Month and everything like that. Have you guys heard of anything within the GTA? Do you guys do that with? Maybe you want to explain to the other viewers and stuff like that what exactly charity clicks are, and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, the charity clicks, it depends on the venue in a lot of cases. I know Daniel joins every year. He likes to do one. I don't remember all the details of specifically the focus of their charity, but what I do know is the way they operate it is it's charity tournament. Like any other tournament, you enter, you pay an entry fee, and all the entry fees go to charity. But as well, they also have it's either a quarter or $1 for a prop, and what they'll do is they'll have an extra can with donation that collects donation money. And if you make a dice roll, you call over the donation guy and say, "I need to prop this roll." And he was telling me at one point a guy had put $20 worth of quarters into making a dice roll because he needed a 10 on a 20. And that's one of many ideas. I know quite a few quite a few stores in the States do run charity clicks, which is something, believe me, I would love to get behind, but we do need to get our community focused in the right direction. This past year, we've done a lot of work with the ROC, or with the Rock, depending on how you like to say it. I generally go straight to the letters myself with the ROC. We've done a lot of work getting some really good tournaments going. They help with the prizing, help get butts in the seats. So we do know we have a community in the Greater Toronto Area. So our next step, of course, is to set up some form of charity event and get the store behind it. Make sure that it's a store that we think is big enough or willing enough to run it, and make sure the focus is correct. Now, this month we probably won't be doing it. We may be doing it in another month and go from there. Personally, if I was to support a charity, one of my personal favorites is Child's Play, but that's partially because I'm trained in video games. Video games are a big part of my life, and I do respect what they're doing as far as bringing in video games in the hospitals, using them to help children kind of pass the time, or in some cases help with rehabilitation. I know the Wii has been used in the past to help rehabilitate kids. And I also very highly respect their operating costs. I believe they operate at a 2% operating cost, and the other 98% of all the proceeds that they collect go towards a charity. Now, I might be exaggerating. It might be 96%, but it's still an incredibly high percentage in difference to other charities. And that's not to call out other charities. It's just the fact that I've been with the Penny Arcade brand for so long as far as following the comic, loving everything that they do, and I support Child's Play quite extensively. As well, I mean, this weekend, talking about clicks for charity, Extra Life is on this weekend.
Oh yeah,
and we were watching the Twitch stream from Geek and Sundry, and they're supporting the Extra Life charity as well. Now, they're not necessarily the Child's Play, but gaming is getting really deep into charity these days, and we do kind of want to be a part of that at some point. But we do want to get the player base in one area more often, and get them sitting together and playing together, and then just be able to sit down and say, guys, we're supporting a charity. Let's sit down and play some HeroClix and bring a lot of quarters for charity and get those probs off. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I'm all behind all of these, and believe me, one day I will have a passport and a car or the ability to travel. And you'll see my face in some of these. Let's be brutally honest. I'm big on charity. November it's coming up.
The beard.
It will be gone.
We have to extend it to his head because he normally has a beard. So we make him grow head hair for a month.
Yep. I shave everything above my neck and go. and we do want to get charity going, but we need to service the brand of HeroClix first before we can make HeroClix charity events bigger. And it may actually become a part of it now that I'm thinking about it in a bigger space. But it's really hard for us to get the kind of prizing we need for that kind of event. Part of Daniel Joyne's success with his event is he's won Worlds twice. You get a lot of stuff for winning Worlds. It's very easy to go, hey, you know what? We have 3 factory sets and a bunch of LEs and whatever. I kept mine.
I believe even Alex Avila, who was he made Stargirl. He was 2012. 2012 world champion. He also did a charity event. He actually, in his world champion interview with Crit to Hit, he actually talked about his charity event that he was doing because of something that his brother has. It's been a long time, and I read it like so quick.
We don't have the article on us right now.
Yeah, we don't.
Off the top of our head, we swear we're improving.
Yeah, he was running a charity event to promote awareness and stuff for the disease that his brother had. From what I remember.
So yes, we do at some point.
HeroClix charity, a lot of venues and a lot of bigger name HeroClix players have been doing into running these charity events.
If we get the kind of prizing that we want to do that kind of event, believe me, I will run it within a second. In fact, if I win Worlds, we collect so much anyway, I know I'm not going to need those factory sets. A lot of the cases, I do get enough of the LEs from the Battle Royales, etc. I will definitely put up whatever I won for some kind of super event at my local venue, or a local venue willing to do something. And it would probably be a charity event, which would be what I would push for. I think CNIB would be mine because, glasses. Or Child's Play, depending on whether or not they're willing to support me here in Canada. So those are the top 2 that I would personally push. Yeah, Clix for charity. It's a good idea. It's a great thing.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, sure, by all means, Matt.
Last year at our local shop, they had a pre-Christmas food drive kind of Clix tournament. So it was like a prob for every can of food you brought in. So that was
that's Comic Book Addiction, correct?
Yes, exactly.
I've been there a few times. I do enjoy the store, and I'm actually, if they do that again, that's around Christmas time they do that, right?
Yeah, they did it right before Christmas, if I remember.
I'm gonna go this year with a big old bag of cans. I'm gonna need a duffel bag.
Pick up something from Costco.
Yeah, get it.
Yeah, they started limiting it because, again, somebody went crazy with props.
But that's the point. You're supposed to go crazy for charity, right?
Yeah. And I think our mutual friend Patrick and I were 5 probs into one single attack, and they told us to stop being ridiculous.
That sounds like a Patrick thing to do.
But you were 5 cans in for charity.
There you go.
That's what's important.
Exactly.
And it's a good thing we have you focused right now, Matt, because it's your turn to ask a question.
Okay. Well, my next question is about collecting, because I think we all have the orange lantern in us and want everything all the time.
Mine, not yours!
I've heard you guys mention you have everything since Flash or something like that. But that's something that I think about too. I love the game just from the collecting these cool little guys, and why not? So, any advice on how to get it all? Start a YouTube channel, or
okay?
What's the best bet?
If it is your endeavor to get it all, be sure that you are not a fan of money.
Yeah, I know. Money cures everything, yeah.
Step 1, financially plan it. Now,
sit down with a banker.
No, I'm a terrible banker because I'm broke.
And we have 3 children.
We have a ton of HeroClix, and I don't understand it. One of the things that we do is we do save specifically, we have a specific HeroClix budget. And part of the reason that we collect everything is the channel. It helps us show off more HeroClix, because I can't tell you how many times people just kind of discount a figure because it's not in the meta, it's not being played in major tournaments, and we do like to throw curveballs at ourselves and at our viewers. I will be the first one to try a Heroes for Hire team without team ability. I'll also be the first one to try out an Invaders team or a new Warriors team. I don't want to talk about the new Warriors. They're bad. Now, that being said, if you've watched our unboxings, we buy 2 cases every time. That's 4 bricks. What that generally gets us is 2 chases out of the set. Generally, at minimum, a full common, uncommon, rare, although Nick Fury, 1 rare dodged us, and that was Imperial Hydra.
It's usually actually 1 out of... It's not as bad with the 2 cases, but when we were buying 3 bricks instead, we were always missing 1 rare.
Yeah, we're always missing 1 rare.
Set, but 1 rare will be missing.
And Nick Fury was an anomaly ever since we started buying 2 cases. In fact, we generally got pretty close to 2 full CURs, with the exception of a couple rares.
Out of that.
And we generally get 2 to 3 primes out of it. And you can generally count on 2 chases. Now, when you get past that, you're in Trading Central. Now, what often happens is people are looking just for the common, uncommons, and rares, and will pay a little bit of a price for that. So oftentimes we do sell that. Now, what will happen is that money goes into a HeroClix purchasing budget, and that HeroClix purchasing budget is reserved for chases. Your super rares, what will generally happen is we'll either have close to a full collection with 1 or 2 extras, or a bunch of extras missing a bunch of them, which were generally easy to flip. Honestly, in the early days of a set, a super rare for a super rare before tournaments occur is the easy way around. eBay doesn't exist yet, and eBay for the first couple of days of prices just doesn't make any sense. Nick Fury was going for $10 when he first showed up.
Yeah.
I dare you to find him for $10 now on eBay. So super rares generally sort themselves out after the 2 cases. So then you're left with tons of commons, uncommons, and rares, and a couple chases you're looking for. Now, if you get 2 of the same chase, a chase for chase is generally an easy trade to make for a lot of people, with a few exceptions. I believe when Slosh came out, if you're trying to trade a Lydia Maller off of somebody, you were pulling teeth. And if you're getting a Lydia Maller straight up for a chase, it's because they overvalue that Superman. And the early days are the easy days because everybody who's trading early on is collecting. We all just want to finish our collections and be done with it and never look back. As far as Nick Fury and Avengers Assembled were concerned, the hardest part has been the ID cards. We've always had to buy at least 1 or 2 ID cards, and that's not a fault of anything. That's just the name of the game. You will at some point have to purchase something, and that's what collecting comes down to. So first you have your initial purchase budget, which is generally a bulk purchase of 2 cases, the fast forces, your token stuff, whatever, right? And then after that, you have to set aside a budget because you know you're going to have to hit the secondary market at some point. Now, if you're lucky, the chases don't get valued too high. The vehicles didn't get valued high at all. And chances are they're not going to see a valuation that's very high until the ROC limited format starts to hit. Once that hits, then they do go up in value because as far as competitive play is concerned, the ROC is generally the one that runs year-round, which we're going to talk about the ROC later in more depth. But they do also kind of shift the market in the way it goes. So they're worth mentioning right now. So, like I said, that's kind of the way it goes. So super rares are the easy part if you're buying, again, this is if you're at the level of purchasing 2 cases. But the problem with this 2-case purchase issue is that you're left with gigantic stacks of commons and uncommons that you just can't do anything with.
Most cases you can't even give them away.
And the other part of it too is the early days of trading get very difficult when you consider sealed tournaments. If you play as well as collect like we do, what'll happen is we buy our first 2 cases, then we make some trades here and there for super rares, and then it comes to the chases, and then we go to the sealeds doing this. Please, just today, just for once, please. Now, my curse has been broken on chases with Age of Ultron, but it broke in a way that's concerning me. have pulled. I've purchased an Ultron 18.2, and since doing so, I've pulled 2 of them. First world problems, right? First world hero Clix problems. But you can't count on the sealed pulling something. But then sometimes you might, and you might get happy with it. It happens. So that's generally the way it goes with us. Is we buy the 2 cases, we do our unboxing videos, which a lot of people seem to enjoy, and then we get.
Poor Amber, though.
What's that?
I just feel bad when you dump them on Amber's head. That's all.
I stopped doing that because they stopped doing gravity feeds.
Yeah. I like, I like to watch it and feel bad. It was entertaining.
I'm actually surprised I don't get a lot more hate on the internet than I do. And
if Amber wasn't smiling, you'd think that maybe,
Maybe that's what it is. It's like, well, she's smiling about it, so it can't be that much of a dick.
It can't be that bad.
Yeah. All right.
Now.
Blink if you want him to stop, Amber.
Now we covered the collecting of Gotta Get 'Em All. Mm-hmm. Now the other side of collecting is what I've done since the beginning, and that is selectively collecting when you factor in like your favorite character and then collecting all of that one character.
Can I tell a Thor story?
Which we'll get to that. Which is fine because I can say I have every Maverick that's been clicked. There's 2 of them.
Yeah.
I have every X-23 that's been clicked. There's 3 of them. I have every Psylocke that's been clicked. There's about 12. But when I say that I have every single Wolverine that's been clicked, there's about 57. 2 of which are con exclusives. One of those con exclusive was only available during a con in your store, which wasn't even like, it's a step beyond a con exclusive. So it's like, we left for a while and we weren't out playing tournament-wise and we weren't buying as much. And when we came back into the tournament scene, I had to start up my collection again, and there was about a dozen Wolverines that I had missed. And they were just uniques or super rares. They weren't really that hard. Yeah, there was an uncut. There was a Fast Forces I was missing. Mm-hmm. But it came down to there was a chase, and that was when they started making chase Wolverines. And then it started getting concerning. Mm-hmm. And I found a box of old LEs from when we first played, and pretty much handed off the entire box of LEs for the one chase Wolverine. And it was like...
And that one was barely a Wolverine. It was
Wolverine.
Wolverine.
It was a hulked out Wolverine.
The Hulk Wolverine, the Hulk out.
Oh, yeah.
But, and then it was just, they started going up and up and up in rarity. And I thank goodness that I'm not my friend who has been collecting every Batman since the game came out. Or another friend, I don't think he has a complete collection, but I have another friend who's a huge fan of Iron Man. And ever since Iron Man created essentially the Marvel cinematic universe, he's just exploded in Clix. At the beginning, it was Superman, Batman, Wolverine, and Spider-Man.
And Hulk for a while.
Hulk to a degree, but
Hulk was in every set up until after the Hulk set.
Yeah. And then, but he started tapering off. Anyways. But then once the Avengers movies and the Iron Man movies came out, and then Iron Man just exploded. And now I think he is the most represented character right now in Clix with 70 some odd different versions of him.
You did that count before Avengers Assemble came out.
Yeah, that's true.
And Avengers Assemble
it's an old count. I think that was actually before
Age of Ultron.
Iron Man at that.
There was Invincible Iron Man after when you did that count. Then there was Age of Ultron. Then there was Avengers Assemble, Nick Fury. 4 sets all had Iron Man in them, by the way.
Yeah, so I feel bad for any Iron Man fans, but definitely that's kind of the other side of when you see collectors. You're like, you see the ones that are either I gotta catch them all, or I only like fire type.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm throwing Pokemon references.
Yeah, you did that. That just
Deal
happened.
with it.
Pokemon Go's not even out yet, Amber. But also, when you go to what I was just saying with gotta catch 'em all, collecting as far as sets go, that only gets you as far as the sets. Then there's the con stuff, and that is the biggest investment ever, not only because the secondary market is one of the key places to go, but even if you go to these events, you have to go there. It generally costs you hotel rooms. And in order to get them, you have to play in these battle royales. Well, they have a cost behind them, too. So when people are charging you $60 online for them, you are getting a fraction of what they paid as far as a hotel room, getting down there, paying for the entry fee in the tournament, and then actually winning that figure. Because you have to do well in a battle royale. And let me tell you how battle royales go. There's always that one guy. Who's like, oh, that guy just took 6 damage. He's still alive, eh?
Yeah.
Running shot. Oh, he's dead. All right, that was 300 points.
Yeah.
And that was a hypersonic, so I'm out.
or how I lost my vampire Wolverine by I got tag teamed by 2 of the 4 people, and then the other guy kind of hung back and was like, all right, I guess I'll clean up.
Yeah.
Wolverine's mine.
Yeah. So battle royales are rough. And for those of you who have never participated in a battle royale at a con, you get a pack. Take a figure out of that pack. Pass that pack to the left. The next one comes in here, and then you pick. And then whatever you pulled from all those packs, that's what you play with. It doesn't matter about point values. So if you happen to pull 700 points worth of figures, you're playing a 700-point team, and your opponents are crying because they can't kill your team. But the trick is, if you have the low-point team, you got to pick up the scraps. And that's how I got a spider ham. Was it spider ham? No, wait. It was animal? No.
I don't know what.
What was the figure I won in that battle? I won one battle royale and I won it. Was it spider ham?
Spider ham.
Oh, and I traded that spider ham to get a thing. I don't know. I can never remember now. I had so much fun at Nationals anyway. It doesn't matter. But yeah, that's the story of collecting. Takes a lot of work if you want everything. And I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes a $60 con, you're getting a bargain.
Yeah. No, I came in because I love the Legion of Superheroes. So after Slosh came out and they had some commons in a bowl at the cache, I was like, what the hell is this? And got very excited. And when I found out all the chases were the Servants of Darkness, I was like, oh, I've got to get those. I can't believe they made little action figures of these guys. It's like my favorite story ever. And then I found out, no, chase means big bucks. So that's, I had a nice trial by fire or whatever. Learned about it very quickly. Secondary market is not always very friendly, but everything's available anyway.
Yeah. My story was I got fired from Games Workshop. Games Workshop lost this bid. I'm buying the WizKids product. I'm such a spiteful teenager. Fabrizio, do we have you here? I think there's a bit of a delay, so. Fabrizio? Nope, I think we've lost him again. Mike, do you have another question?
Nope, that was it for me.
Okay.
I got my 3 questions in. That's cool.
Okay. Matt, are you good?
I'm good for now, sure.
All right. So,
Rock
if you guys
news
don't mind, we did have an email question from one of our patrons who couldn't make it, and that was, I believe his name is Cody. And his question actually has nothing to do with me. And it has everything to do with Amber. I've given a ton of stories as far as the Meta Lab, Metafix, and all the other things that I do HeroClix-wise. I've been on other shows, etc. And people have always gotten my story of practice and where my whole practice makes your team better mantra comes from at worst. But Cody wants to know Amber's story. Amber, Cody asks, how do you practice when it comes to HeroClix major tournaments?
So basically what happens is that I think of something that I look at something that I think I kind of want to play. And I tell Jason this idea. And then I'm like, go make me a team. Because when it comes to the team building, I can't wrap my head around what I need. And Jason's actually gotten to the point where he's gotten so good at team building that he can build for my playstyle. and know what I'm comfortable playing, how I could run a team. So actually, the last two high events that we did, both nationals, the Canadian nationals that have happened, Jason actually built my team for me. And when it comes down to practice, it's usually a matter of him giving me the team, telling me what it's supposed to do, and I from there have to figure it out for myself. I'm a very tactile person, and I have to make mistakes to be able to learn. So I will put myself through a very grueling process of getting beaten over and over and over again with the same team until I learn what that team is actually supposed to do.
See, now she says it's grueling for her. I built the team. I'm witnessing her doing it all wrong after I told her what to do. I can't tell you how many times I just go.
Flip the chair.
This happens a lot during practice, and it's not because I'm losing to Amber using the team. It's because she's losing and I told her what to do.
Yeah, so it takes me a really long time actually to wrap my head around a team, which is why when you see me play games, and it's a team I've never played before and I haven't done anything, it's just like, oh, and then when I do my after interviews, it's like, well, I should have done this, and I should have done this, and oh, that guy's got that power, wow, I should read my cards, and I've only actually recently, and I do say recently because we've been playing this game for 13 years, and it's only been about the last 2 years that I've even considered myself on a more competitive level. I'm not a competitive player. I am very casual with this game. I got into this game for fun. I play more for fun than anything else. But it hit me at a point where when we started playing tournaments again, and I was sitting there, I'm like, I shouldn't be losing these games. And it just kind of hit me after like 10 years of losing. I'm like, this shouldn't happen anymore. I'm better than this. And so I started getting better, and I started playing more strategically. I started thinking more about my teams, thinking more either than instead of just shooting the shit and having fun with my buddies, it was, okay, I really want to win this. And ever since I kind of shifted my mindset, I've performed better. Actually, just last month, for the first time in 13 years, I won a tournament. I went 4-0 at a month 4 of Age of Ultron and won myself a Quinjet, which we didn't know was actually going to be the prize for top 4. They had a lot of Quinjets to give out, so
and Kangs.
And Kangs, everybody.
If you
got
had a pulse, you got a Kang.
Really great venue.
Extreme Collectibles in Grimsby, Ontario.
Mm-hmm. And so when it comes specifically to practice, it takes a lot of losing for me to understand. It takes a lot of me doing something wrong to get into my head what it is that needs to be done right. So practicing is really rough, and it really only happens about once a year for me. I'll sit down, and every night or every other night we'll throw something on Netflix or on TV and just sit down on the floor in our living room and hash this out. Actually, one of my greatest victories on practicing was when I made top 16 last year at Nationals. I knew from the first year that it was going to be a grueling first day. I wasn't going to get any good sleep. I was going to be exhausted, and I was just going to be mentally wiped the next day. So I went into day 2, and I was like, I need a team for day 2 that I don't have to think about, that I can just play and it goes. And I actually built my top 16 team. Only time that's ever... Shut up. I did build it.
I told you to use Harley.
Yes, but I still built it. Anyways, and that was a Brainiac ship with the Sinestro core battery and Harley. And we actually, because we were getting the Brainiac ship at the con, we printed out the dial. And I used Jason's Necron as a placeholder so we knew how it moved on maps. And we just kind of had the printout of the dial so I knew where I would be with when I took damage and how I could take damage, how I could strategically do each dial, and it got to the point where it was one of the better played Brainiac ships at the event because everybody else just kind of opened it at the event, learned it the night before, and was like, hey, I'm going to play this. And it's like, well, it's like playing Sealed. You're not going to get all of the ins and outs of a character having only played it once or having never played it before and just go. So anyways, when it comes down to practicing for me, yeah, it's a long, grueling process that Jason helps me through.
Amber isn't the only one that goes through the school of Jason Knox. Ryan Bell, who got third place at Canadian Nationals, went through 3 solid months of taking ass whooping after ass whooping after ass whooping from me. Sometimes with teams that he had no business losing against, other times with teams that he was going to be up against at some point. And part of the practice system from me isn't that I teach you what you're doing during the game. I turn to you after the game and say, why didn't you do this? And I can't tell you how much more effective that is for people than saying, you know, instead of doing this, you should do this during a game. Because I'm not going to do that to them if they're doing a game and it's an outwit. Like you didn't why don't you outwit this power before you do that? I won't do that during a practice game. I won't wait till the practice game's over. I will hunch over the table. I will go, hey, when this character was over here, why didn't you outwit when you did that? And then I can't tell you the moment of realization that comes from somebody who just got beat going, oh, I don't know. And I think part of it is I'm a better coach than player.
Mm-hmm. Very good coach.
I'm an all right player as long as my head is in the right place. As long as my confidence is in the right area. Tom will attest to this. I'm a fantastic player. Tom insists that I need to keep that confidence, which is why next year Canadian Nationals, Tom Kerr is going to be in my bedroom with me, and if I even so much as blink and change teams, Tom is probably going to throw me a right hook, write my team sheet down, and hand it to me while I'm passed out on the floor. At least I'm counting on that. Because me and him will probably put a lot of work into the team that I'm planning on playing, and everything will go well from there. But yeah, Amber does get what I like to call the School of Hard Knocks as far as practice goes, and I do my best to build within Amber's limitations and Amber's abilities and understandings of how things work. And 99.9% of the time she gets it eventually. But I think this year with the Indigo Lantern team, we probably could have got a lot more practice. She was counting on being a judge. She had no intention of playing at Canadian Nationals, but closer to the event, she found out that they actually didn't need the extra judge and decided she was going to play now. And that forced me to try to speed practice her. And I honestly, if I was to look in hindsight, I should have started her, told her just the second we get that Sinestro ship, just open it and go.
No, just played that the entire time.
We should play that, but that's all things we're going to take into consideration next year, as far as what we're planning as far and going as practice. Though we may need some more Nick Furies for the team. Given the current rate that figure is going, and the fact that there's no strict hard counter to him,
I can tell you right now,
Indigo
one
Battery.
of the things that'll be on my nationals team will be Superman Blue.
Superman Blue is definitely something that's going to be on a lot of our teams too. Nick Fury, Superman Blue. Oh, we're giving away too much. This is live. What are we doing?
Superman Blue.
Amber.
I'm writing it down because I hope to play against you guys.
Well, here's the thing. And
what are you going to do specifically?
Every HeroClix argument always ends with, no, whatever. I'll just pulse wave them. Try that with Superman Blue.
Yep.
I dare you. Because he says no pulse wave, and no, my friends don't get pulse wave either.
Is that the first time ever, or?
Yes. No.
Okay.
No. Well, sorry. It's the first time you get to
ability.
share that.
Oh.
The
Okay.
Silver Centurion takes no damage from Pulse Wave or Psychic Blast, but Superman Blue, not only does he not take damage, but he shares that problem. And at 50 points, he's 18 defense with Energy Shield. He's unreal. And I'm so glad he's only a rare. We're going to need like 6 or 7 of them for the Metafix team to make sure we all have them.
I'm going to say, Superman Blue is actually the figure that got me to buy DC HeroClix.
Yeah, because Collateral Damage came out, right?
Yes. Okay, so this is a story being, me and
Tangents.
DC being, yeah, whatever. It's Cody's question.
It's true.
Whatever.
Carry on.
Is that back in the day, the way that events used to be set up, instead of having Modern Age because there wasn't enough Clix to have Modern Age, it was either Marvel HeroClix or DC HeroClix, to the point where there was actually separate rule books and separate packs. Now, they didn't say anything different. They were the same thing, but you would have, this is the DC HeroClix rulebook, this is the Marvel HeroClix rulebook, this is the DC pack, Marvel pack. And for official tournaments, they were actually separate. So when I first got into the game, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to buy Marvel HeroClix. So for years, I was buying Marvel HeroClix until Collateral Damage came out. And it was
such a fun set.
Superman heavy set. And it was characters that I knew and characters that I grew up reading in comics with my dad. And I was like, oh my god, I want it all! And it was also one of the first sets for them to change up how REV sets worked. And they started doing something that was really interesting. Now, for the newer players, REV sets is Rookie, Experience, Veteran, and where we would now have multiple starting lines on the same dial, those used to be separate figures. So you would have the Rookie version, the Experience version, and the Veteran version.
And they have a yellow ring, a blue ring, and a red ring.
And what they started doing around the time of Collateral Damage was they would actually change the sculpt or the name of a figure depending on where it was in their career of the Rookie, Experience, and the Veteran. And the Superman Blue was the Rookie, and Superman Red was the Experience, and then Superman was the Veteran. And I was so mind blown by this whole concept. Okay, also, I was like 17. So
ow, HeroClix is old!
So, just to add that in, it's just like,
my 20s!
I was really young when this set came out, too. I wasn't that young. I was actually, no, I was like 18. Yeah, I was like 18, 19.
I was hitting my 20s when this game came out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was 16 when this game came out. So, yeah, so and I was just like, I was so blown away by the fact that they were changing up the sculpts depending on the experience level, and I went to a pre-release, I think, for this, or like I went to the opening release night, and we all sat down with bricks, and we were opening it up, and we're like, oh my god, look at these figures. It was my first really big.
Buy by the brick incentive too on that set?
Yes.
That's why you really like the set. You still have that crypto.
I do still have that crypto, and I will play him right next to. That's one of the games I won.
Yeah.
If you look back, one of the games I won was titled "A Girl and Her Dog." And Supergirl and Crypto wrecked house on Mystical Zombies or something that Jason was playing. No. Yeah, you were playing Zubembi.
Supergirl and Crypto was against Dr. Light.
I could have sworn it was the Zubembi one.
No, the Zubembi one was the first game you won, but you were using the Absorbing Man Titanium.
Oh, okay. There's like
and that was,
4 games that I've won, so.
It was the Zubembi, Frankencastle,
and
Man-Thing. Yeah. Legion of Monsters against Titanium.
Giant size Man-Thing.
Anyway, focus. So yeah, Superman Blue, when the new Superman Wonder Woman set comes out, is going to be amazing.
Yeah, and he's going to be involved in a lot of practice.
And now, before we move on to the question everybody I'm sure really wants to hear from us, Fabrizio, are you back, and do you have another question for us?
I'm back. No, I don't have any questions. I'm just glad all I wanted to ask is asked. Other people got to ask what I wanted to ask, and I got to hear your opinion, so it's fine. Go on.
Okay, so then I'm sure the question on everybody's mind, and they really want to hear our opinion on this, Amber. I've heard it. I'm sure of it, and I told them nobody was allowed to ask this. I bet everybody wants to know our opinions of the new ROC format and the new changes to the ROC rules. Does everybody want to know that?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
I thought so. Okay, now is everybody familiar with the changes so far?
Yeah, I just looked at it earlier today. Yeah.
I will
A
share
little
it.
bit.
Okay, I'm going to share it with everybody just so we get a... I'm going to actually pull it up on the screen right now from HC Realms and the post right here. So here we are. We have the ROC announcement, the 2016 announcement. Now, there's a couple key points. The first one we want to just kind of gloss over, and I mentioned it earlier. Felix Faust is still banned. And the reason for that is that he works with Rocket Raccoon. Deal with it. Unfortunately, the way it works out is that the reach on the Rocket with the Rocket Raccoon and the Felix Faust is still about a 16 square when you consider that Rocket Raccoon is tiny, Felix Faust phases and can carry a tiny. So it's very easy to still manage the shutdown ability, and Rocket Raccoon's ability to reroll is still allowed to reroll d20s. So with that said, the ROC has decided Felix Faust still banned. But that said, maps, and how long have I been yelling? The whole year, right? I've been yelling about this for a year now. The ROC banned several maps because they have a rule where you don't use orange rules on maps. So as a result, because they didn't allow the use of orange rules, certain maps just couldn't function. And what they've done is, now, allow me to quickly explain the history. The history, for those of you who don't understand, is back in the past around GSX, there's a map called Krakoa. Krakoa doesn't work like normal maps. Krakoa, we've actually played with the map. Mike, you saw what Krakoa did to a team that you built for us.
Yep.
Krakoa was a problematic map. As a result, because of that problem, they stopped the use of orange rules in general because of Krakoa. But since that map existed, no other map has really done what that does. If anything does any sort of thing with orange rules, it's the Black Mercy Gardens, and that affects mind control and incapacitate in very specific situations. So they have now lifted that rule altogether and have now allowed all maps and allowed the orange rules for those maps.
I'm dancing. You can't see it.
Yeah, Amber's dancing because of the screen share. So my year of yelling about it has not fallen on deaf ears. I want to point out initially, myself and Amber are very positive about a lot of these changes because a lot of the changes are things we've been making noise about for a good portion of the time. Now, that said, we go next into their format thing. Their format, the no tactics, was a really big blanket issue. Now, I understand the creation of the no tactics format was basically, you know what, it's easier to just say no tactics because then there's a whole section in the rulebook that covers exactly what they're talking about. So I had no official issue with that per se, although it did stop. What the unfortunate side effect of that is that a certain number of characters were unusable or lost a lot of their point costs in valuation. So what they've done is they've switched to something they call the limited format. Now the limited format runs the same gamut of time that the no tactics format ran to. So until April, April is the last month, and then come May, it goes into regular 300-point modern for ROC format tournaments. As well, they've offered an alternate format, 400 points, Rock Age, Silver Age, Modern Age, limited. Now, personally, I'm not going to make any noise about that because every ROC that I would run or would participate in follows the standard formats or the 300 modern limited or the 300 modern. Now, the limited format, getting into better detail, over the no tactics is slightly different. Now, a lot of the same things are not allowed. So you're still not allowed resources. There's still no figures larger than a peanut base. So they, a double base figure or a figure that takes up more than 2 squares is not allowed. Possession is still not allowed. Now, they've added and no relics as well. Although there's no official wording on no special rules that we've heard. So
special objects.
Or
so
special
right
objects,
now,
yeah.
There's actually only 8 in Modern Age. The big ones is the fact that the Hulk Busters, the Hulk Buster pieces are special objects, not relics, that could be brought in. But right now it seems to be that they're allowed until further.
Mice nuts as far as I'm concerned. But what they've added to this now is no constructs, no ID cards. Now, I'm 50-50. I'll accept the new format with the loss of constructs. I'm a little I don't agree with the no constructs thing because of the limitation of characters that you're allowed to use on them. But ultimately, I think what will happen is those characters will prove themselves still sufficiently good, and the specific characters being Abin Sur, Kyle Rayner, and Tomar 2. The biggest loss that those characters suffer will be the wall and maybe the shield, but for the most part, those characters are still good. So I don't think this no construct thing is really going to affect them to that great an ideal. Whoa, I'm starting to lose my voice. I'm all over this one, eh? Now, they also added no ID cards to this format. And I saw this coming for one of two reasons. One, initially WizKids had ruled that ID cards were tactics. Then they took that ruling away. Ultimately, personally, the way I see what is considered a tactic is something that any team can use, in my eyes, right? So the only limitation on ID cards is, do you have a character that can bring that ID card in? And we have all these 30-point Ultrons that say yes. So they're kind of hitting that at the head and saying, you know what, screw it. We're trying to make a character-focused format. No ID cards. We're making this as character possible, or as on the board and character-focused as we possibly can. Now, what this changes big time, theme teams, ATAs, and bystanders are now in this format, which is big news for a few reasons. One, Phantom X is no longer worthless. Phantom X is actually usable in this format because you can bring out Eva. As well, there's a couple characters every set since I think Wolverine and the X-Men has had at least one character who can bring out a character who can bring out a bystander. And that means if they stop allowing bystanders, at least one character who loses effectiveness. Plus, you have some characters that rely on it, like Dr. Demonicus. Dr. Demonicus is now a viable figure in this format. As well, theme teams, personally, I've always considered, ever since the introduction of theme teams, when you make a theme team, you are hitting yourself with limitations. Sometimes a keyword doesn't have something that you need to make a team function. That said, because they're allowing theme teams, I don't think there's any the only bonus that there's two bonuses that a theme team gets. A named theme team can get prob. Any theme team gets a map roll bonus. Excuse me. And any theme team can allow ATAs. Now, you have to pay points for ATAs in a lot of cases. No big deal. And the ones that are free aren't massively game-changing, let's be brutally honest. So, by allowing my ability to choose the map, I have limited myself to a specific keyword, but gained the ability to choose the map. So ultimately, by getting myself the map bonus, if I'm using a non-named theme team, or adding the probability controls, I have limited myself in build, and that's not that big a deal if you ask me. As well, I would like to see a lot more theme teams come out of the format. Don't get me wrong, competitive, sometimes non-theme teams do well. Other times, having that extra bonus can go a long way, and it's a legitimate strategy, as they say, for the most part. They've also added these other formats that I have no particular issue with. The Rock Age is cool. Anything with an Oreo base, that's awesome. Our Rock Silver Age, all carded figures from DC and Marvel only. Neat-o. And then special events, which you got to talk to the ROC about specifically. Cool beans. All of this is really neat. That said, we move on to Rule 3. The Swiss rounds. This is not an issue we've had with. We haven't had an issue with. We haven't heard players in our area complain about the number of Swiss rounds. So the fact that they're saying a minimum Swiss round is really for the venues that have an issue with the number of rounds of Swiss that are allowed. That's okay. That's up to them. What is this? Number 4. In the WizKids rulebook, there's several spots. Rules quoted only apply to Sync WizKids. Okay. Point 4 points out the fact that we keep trying to tell people who come to ROC events. These are not official WizKids events. These are specifically ROC events. They're just kind of stressing this point. Neat. Next, 7 regionals. Last year we had 7 regionals. This year there's also 7 regionals. The regionals are run by stores that are that really back the ROC. Honestly, we do at some point plan on doing the work to get a regional down here. Little cost prohibitive, and we still really want to make sure that we can guarantee that the store doesn't whatever store runs it doesn't take too much of a hit, and whatever store does run it has the necessary sleeping area nearby, to say the least, like a hotel or something, where we can make sure everybody can get to the event. These stores are all very reputable. I know for a fact, actually, Majestics is running a super qualifier this weekend. Plug for our sponsor. This is the last super qualifier, and then they're also running a regional. The Majestics regional is always awesome. I can't stress that enough. Last year it was fantastic. Next year I'm sure it's going to be great. Patrick runs a great show, and all these venues I'm sure will run a fantastic job of running a regional. We have no issue at this point. We're tentatively running a team championship. Team championship is good if you don't do so well in the singles. You get another chance to be a champion with a group. Next year I am hoping I can get the Metal Lab down to Rocktober and kind of putting together a three-man team, a couple three-man teams if necessary, but chances are most likely to show up at Rocktober would be myself, Mike, and Tom. Maybe Amber will be down there as well, but that's up to her. She might actually be more of a judging situation, which we're coming up with later. 7 rankings. There's something they're working on. I've never really given a crap. Have you given a crap? Neither of us have really given a crap about the rankings. You don't really care about the rankings until you know the people who are at the top. Next up, the ROC Judges Program. This one Amber is really excited about. ROC has taken a lot of hits on judging. And it's not the ROC's fault. The ROC only provides a prize support and kind of a network of tournaments that a lot of people are familiar with. So when I say that they take a hit for judging, people turn around and say, well, they don't really vet the judges. Sometimes judging problems happen. You know what? I'm going to be brutally honest with you. There's a couple of judging issues that occurred in Canadian Nationals, that occurred in U.S. Nationals, occurred in Worlds. The judges are human, but what the ROC is planning on doing is setting up a system where there's going to be judge testing, and certain types of tournaments can only be run by ROC-vetted judges. Amber does plan on being on the top of the list when that occurs, and as soon as that happens, if anybody in the ROC board is listening, by all means, send her to the test right away. Next, 9. If a player's already won a bye into the finals of the World Cup, participates in more events, and wins another bye in another tournament, the player will now pass. Whatever. The buys occur, no big issue. ROC World Cup will once again be in Atlanta, and in the month of Rocktober. Rocktober is a neat kind of thing to say, so I'll give them that. Okay. This dice issue, let's be brutally honest. I have no fear issue with anybody using specific dice. It's very easy to test if a dice is weighted. Put it on a corner and spin it. If you cannot get a decent spin out of it, guess what? The dice is weighted. It will just drop to one side of it constantly. So the fear of dice, when it gets to the high level, people do get concerned. And I understand that concern. So when they're running major ROC events, they give out the dice cups and they give out the dice. And they enforce the use of the ROC cups and the ROC dice in their final top 4s, whatever. Again, I have no issue with it. Both players using the same dice. Both players are using the cup. There's no shenanigans that could possibly happen. I commend them on this, taking that extra element of accusation away from the game. I can't tell you how many times I saw in comments or issues or discussions in general about saying Daniel Jones had weighted dice because he rolled 5 Super Sense rolls in a row or whatever. Dude, the guy made 5 Super Sense rolls. Be proud of the guy. How many times have you done that, right? So screaming weighted dice takes away from the player who's played the game. By ROC taking that away, if the guy gets 5 Super Sense rolls in a row, tough luck. You got 5 Super Senses in a row. You can't argue with that. So it's really difficult to argue when that kind of thing happens. So my big takeaway from this is a lot of positives and one slight irk. And honestly, I can get over the no constructs a lot faster than the fact that I feel like if anybody's watched the Metal Lab, Metafix, and heard my comments on the ROC or seen my comments on Facebook or on HC Realms, every single comment I've ever made, every single thing I said, do this to fix the ROC, has been implemented. I got no issue. I got no beef. I am very happy. I'm looking forward to the to everything. In fact, November 1st, which is the official start of the new ROC Limited format, we have a tournament here in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area. In Toronto at 401 Games, 518 Yonge Street. I got it all. I'm still used to doing the weekly update. They're running the first that I know of event in this limited format. As well, a local tournament on Wednesday is running it as a kind of a practice event to say, let's give it a try, see what happens. The second I heard about this event, I built 7 teams. All of which I sent to Amber in the same kind of conversations. Like, hey, check this out. I can also do this. Look at this, and I'm stuck on this. So I went back to old school with that, with my keywords. But yeah, I'm very, very positive about the changes to the ROC. I really look forward to events in the new format and with their new rule set. I'm really happy to see Orange Rules come back. It opens up a lot of maps. I can't wait to play on space again. Can't wait to play on the moon. Because the moon is a really wide open map and is really good for long range teams and teams that really focus well on an open map. And I'm really happy to see that map back in the game.
As an ROC judge and a aspiring certified ROC judge, I am super happy with a lot of the changes that have been made because in the long run they actually make my job easier. The Orange Rules,
Go tell the provincial story.
Okay, so running provincials for the ROC this summer, I was checking team sheets over and making sure the legality of everything, and everybody had to list their maps as well. And I had one player who had listed a banned map, and I unfortunately had to tell him the map was banned. And I was pretty sure it was going to come down to blows with this guy who was very upset because he had made a completely aquatic team that he wanted to play on the Sunken Atlantis map, which would have given him a huge advantage given the team that he had built. And I had to turn around and tell him that he can't use that map. And then one of his alternate maps that he wanted to play, I was like, nope, sorry, that one's banned too. And he was legitimately, like, seriously upset. I was really worried that it was either going to turn violent or he was just going to up and leave. Because I had to explain to him that it being ROC, they have different rules than WizKids, and they do have bans, and they do have this, and they do have this. So that's a level that is now out of my mind. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to be fine-combing everybody's map choices to find out if anybody is playing a map that they can't play. The limited format. If you want to know what my headache over the whole bystander thing, not allowing bystanders, go on the WES and type in Warstar. And look at that entire conversation about Warstar and Beanie in the no tactics tournament format. It is headache-inducing. Bringing back keywords, keyword-based teams, bringing back theme teams, ATAs, even though that is putting more into the game, it's actually easier from a judge format because you don't have to turn around and be like, no, that's illegal, no, sorry, that's, you can't do that, no, this doesn't work. So even though it's adding more to the game from a standpoint of rules questions and rules interactions, it's better than when you're sitting down with the team sheet and being like, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do this, oh, do you know that you can't do this with this character because of this rule? So I'm actually very excited for this limited format and how it's going to run from a judging standpoint. And not to mention the fact that I'm actually super excited about having a judge certification process with the ROC. Once again, going back to the fact that we've been playing for so long, I was actually a judge back in the day, and when I first started being a judge in 2007, WizKids did this. They had a judge certification process. You actually had to sit down and do a half-an-hour multiple choice test to make sure that you knew the rules of the game. And on top of that, there was also a not necessarily needed, but also secondary test to just make sure that you liked WizKids and you knew about their products, which honestly at the time I had my friend do that part for me because I was like, what is this? I know HeroClix, and I was a HorrorClix judge too, so I was like, I know HeroClix, I know HorrorClix, I don't know what else they do, so that was a non-issue, but so that allowed me into the judge recordings, allowing to do this stuff and turn around and be like, yes, I am a certified judge. Yes, I know what I'm talking about. I've been to a couple. Actually, one of the ROC events that I went to was just run by the regular venue judge, and he didn't know about certain specific ROC rulings and stuff. And it was while I was there playing, it was like, okay, well, I'm reminding him to do this, and I'm telling people about this, and I was kind of a pseudo-judge even though I was playing, and it was like, well, if we had someone in here who was actually a rock judge, this wouldn't be an issue. Now, I have a feeling that we will have more than one in our area, but I'm going to be doing a lot of judging coming up. 3. If if certain people don't get certified as judges, especially for the higher up, like super Qs and provincials, where it's gonna be required to have one of these judges at the events to run it.
I think one of the big takeaways that I kind of caught on when you were talking about it, all the rules differences are done at build. Like, because in the original No Tactics format, because you had all these things you weren't allowed, well, if a character was able to do a thing in the middle of the game that brought something in, they weren't allowed to do that. Like, for instance, if you're allowed to bring a relic somehow into the game, in the middle of the game, you're still not allowed to do that. I think, actually, no, the relic thing is still kind of a thing, but that's a bad example. The bystander is more specific. You can catch everything, almost everything, at the build level. There'll be, I think, Mordrew and Black Witch would be the only ones that even come to question with regards to extra relic things, but guess what? No relics. Okay, done. Yeah.
Emerald Empress, you can't play her.
Emerald Empress, all right. So that's the only character, like, very limited number of characters that are stopped now. It went from, like, a dozen, maybe 13, 15 characters that were just like, well, I can't use this in this format.
But, well-known meta character, like Jason mentioned, was Phantomex. It's like, okay, well, no bystanders, sorry, Phantomex, you're not useful.
Yeah, you're not sticking around. Anyway, so yes, overwhelmingly positive feedback from us on it. Mostly because I'm pretty sure they heard our criticisms, though we tried to keep them constructive at the time. They heard them, we were heard, voices were heard, and I guess our voices either got passed on or the right people heard them. And here we are.
We're not claiming that we're the reason that these changes were made.
No.
We're saying the royal we, as in the community of
Yes.
HeroClix, were making these comments.
We have a public voice, and we speak for the people. I'm the Lorax, I speak for the trees! Oh my goodness. All right. Now, have we spoken enough detail as far as the ROC formats are concerned? And is everybody happy with what we just said? Anybody want to add on to the discussion on that?
No, I'm good. I don't plan on. I'm not a good enough player to even appear in an ROC, so it's not like this is a very good concern for me anyway. So
go out and play.
Yeah,
just go do it.
You know what? Give it a try. Honestly, for all the crap that you hear about, competitive play is so hard, Matt has played in a couple of the ROC events. Matt, did you have fun at the ROC events that you played in?
Oh yeah, and I learned a lot. I didn't mind that I didn't do very well, but like it really improved my game going forward to go to those events. So even if I didn't do well, I came out a much better player. Plus, the prizes are awesome. Often in those kind of tournaments, the grab bag at provincials was
mind blowing.
Was crazy,
Oh my God.
crazy.
I got top 8 and I couldn't carry home what they gave me.
Well, I went home. I was like a kid pouring out like his Halloween treat bag all over the floor. I was so excited. So,
Honestly, I think that provincial gift bag might become some extra prizing for our event as well. I can't stress this enough. Initially, I was terrified of what Canadian Nationals was going to be like. And with the exception, no, I can't even think of any exceptions at the event. We're all there playing HeroClix. We're all friendly. We all love the game to enough of a degree to try competitively. Even though in the heat of the game, both of you are dead set on beating the crap out of each other, in the end, you both love the game enough to kind of shake hands and say, hey, you beat me, or I won, great game, you played well, awesome job, and you talk the game afterwards. I don't have a single negative experience as far as a player is concerned. I mean, I complained at length about the game I played against Edward, where he had a Felix Faust and a Doctor Strange. I don't fault him as a human being for playing a team that beat the crap out of me and didn't let me play. That's not what I fault him. I can't fault him on that. And he was a fantastic person in spite of the fact that we argued at length about a rule and we had to call a judge over it. Those things happen because we're both trying to win. After the game, we both like HeroClix. He used Squinkies. I pointed it out. Amber uses Squinkies as action tokens too. It's cool, right? Even in your most heated games, you still turn around and you made a new friend. I can't think of a single person I wouldn't have a conversation with after having played them at the highest level, nationals, provincials, or an ROC. I've made great friends and great conversations with everybody I've played with at all of these high-level events. But I mean, I'm so used to the competition, and it's daunting for somebody at first. My first Versus 10K back when I used to play Versus or Magic the Gathering, etc. Don't let the fact that it's competitive scare you. Go in, have some fun, get beat the first time, learn some things, see some things that are happening differently, ask some questions, because believe it or not, people are very forthcoming with information. And once you're done with that experience, you're a better player, you've learned some things, and you've made some new friends. So don't let the ROC scare you, and don't get yourself down about competitive play. I mean, it's a lot of fun in the end, and everybody loves HeroClix who's here, right?
Amen.
Yeah.
So hopefully I've convinced you to go to an ROC now, Mike.
I only got a complaint. Is the lack of ROC events here. But that can be fixed.
Fabricio, where are you from?
I'm from Costa Rica. Latin player I started like 3 years ago, almost 4. I don't know. Don't remember.
Okay. Now I know Howard Brock has extended the reach of the ROC. I believe he was talking to somebody in Europe, talking to somebody he's extending the reach of the ROC. So if you contact him by, I don't know if you're on HC Realms, but if you can jump on HC Realms, I believe his username is Howard Brock. Send him a message. Say, hey, we would like to get some events together in Costa Rica. I'm sure he'd be more than happy if you could find a venue to send you the prize kits. It's just up to the venues to jump on them. So, yeah, I've actually had Howard Brock on the show. I might have him back on about around either before or after. I might go after Rocktober, just to kind of give everybody a year in advance and see what his voices are. I did do an interview way back in the day with him where we talked at length about how the ROC works, and I'm sure things have been changed since then, and I'm sure he wants to talk about them at great length again to get things going. So I'm hoping he's actually kind of watching. We have 4 viewers, and if one of you guys happens to be Howard Brock, Costa Rica is a market that Fabricio would like to see.
Oh, we actually are going to have our second Road to Worlds tournament right in December. So I kind of hope this actually got bigger. Actually, the people show up, and last year and this year is the more prizes, the more things like that. So the Clix market here is growing very much. So I can hope it can be a place where road king happens.
Yeah, HeroClix has had more Road to Worlds events in the past year than I imagined they would have. South Africa, Australia, South America, tons of these tournaments occurred. I didn't even know they had HeroClix markets. I learned South Africa prior to, because a couple of our regular fans and regular viewers do watch our show are from South Africa. There's a large community that's actually given the time zone changes, probably waking up and watching the show right now and is like happy to catch it. And he's like, oh wow, hey, there's a meta, there's something on Married with Clix going on live right now. And honestly, I didn't know how far-reaching the game was until we started this channel, and a lot of the first people who contacted us were not even from North America. A lot of the people who directly contacted us were from South Africa, from Australia, Europe. We had a lot of European fans that were directly contacting us. It wasn't until a little while ago that Americans and Canadians actually started bothering us, and I mean, more the Canadians started not bothering, but sorry, I'm using that term like I have kids, right? But we're poking us, directly contacting us. I don't consider bothering as a bad thing. I'm like, yeah, talk to us. We will try to message you back if you message our channel page on Facebook, facebook.com/marriedwithclix. Send us a direct message. You'll get a message within a reasonable amount of time. Apparently, we're marked with a big green icon for that even. If it's strategy, I'll be quick about it. If it's a rules question, I'll pass it off on Amber, and you'll get an answer within also a reasonable amount of time. But that said, we've got more contact with American players than we have in Canadian players, and we live in Canada. And more of our Canadian players that do contact us actually live very, go to the same venues as us, and they'll talk to us directly about the show. So, and we don't mind that. It's a wide-reaching community, and we're happy to hear that Costa Rica's getting a Road to Worlds event. The Road to Worlds events are the big ones, and if you happen to get a couple extra Tigra and Captain Marvel cards, let us know.
Or Jocasta. I'm looking for a Jocasta.
Did Cody just have the one question?
Cody just had the one question. That was the only question we had on the email. That's it. Yeah, I guess it's time to wrap up. I want to thank you guys as our patrons for supporting us directly and for joining us on the show. We do appreciate your topics, your questions, and we will do this once a month. We're going to try to do it the first Friday of every month. So the next one is probably going to be November 6th.
Yay, right after Superman Wonder Woman comes out.
Wow, it's going to be a long day of conversation. So we're really looking forward to actually the conversation on that one. And, yeah. So I can't stress it enough. We appreciate your support as patrons, and we appreciate your support joining us on the show and keeping the conversation going. And we're always happy to answer all the questions that you guys have. And for anybody who's watching, if you wish to become a patron and join us on this show, because we're not looking at YouTube comments, we're not looking at Facebook comments, only the people who get to go on the show get to ask us questions. Patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. It's actually in the description below. I swear I'm pointing at the description below, not the other thing below. You can become a patron yourself and jump in on the show. As little as $1 a month gets you access to the show, and if you only give $1 for a month, you can join the episode for that month. That's okay with us too. So, and we do have higher rewards. Michael is a regular team builder for myself and Amber, and likes to stress himself out building teams for us. And we do our best to make them function the way he thinks they're going to function, or to just make them function the way that we're going to make them function. I think I made it very specific when I was the one being built for. I was like, yeah, you can build a team. I'm not going to listen to strategy. Things go wrong, and I change things. I'm that way. But yes, we appreciate all the support we get from the patrons, and for anybody who's just viewing the channel right now is supporting us in their own way. Just being a patron is a little bit more of a direct hands-on, and we do invite you to join this show once a month if you happen to become a patron. So thanks, guys, as usual, for watching, for being you, and don't forget, as I would like to say, practice makes your team better.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.